الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد. In our previous class, we had taken a glimpse into the life of some of the great scholars of hadith and the diligence and the strong desire and willpower to learn and to strive to obtain knowledge, and the hardships and difficulties that they faced upon that path. And likewise, we see as well after that their great status and rank that they have reached in this life and the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and they are the carriers of this religion and the transmitters of this deen. And they're those who are known for carrying the proper creed and the upright belief and the legislation and law that was revealed to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. They learned that and they obtained that and they abided by that, and they transmitted that to those after them, and they went through great difficulty and hardship and diligence and to persevere upon that way until they became a'immatul huda wa masabih ad-duja radiyallahu anhum. And we hope that Allah, He has accepted their efforts and they will have great ranks with Him in the hereafter. But from this we take the lesson that knowledge is heavy and it's very serious, and in order to truly achieve a good portion of that one, he must strive and he must make lots of effort, as has been narrated by Yahya ibn Abi Kathir al-Yamami rahimahullah. He died in the year 132. لا ينال العلم براحة الجسد, that this knowledge is not obtained. It's not obtained by way of luxury and by way of relaxing and by way of enjoyment and partaking and engulfing oneself in the worldly life, but rather it's obtained by going through difficulty and by going through hardship and by being diligent and by being sincere and by striving and giving one's utmost effort, to learn for the sake of Allah and to apply it and to help others upon that way. It has been mentioned by Ibn al-Jawzi rahimahullah ta'ala. He says, ta'ammaltu ajaban. He said, I pondered over something that's very amazing. وهو أن كل شيء نفيس خطير يطول طريقه. He said, وهو أن كل شيء نفيس خطير يطول طريقه. And that is that everything that is precious and great, everything that is precious and great, the path to obtain that is long. He said, ta'ammaltu ajaban. I thought about something that's truly an amazing affair. And that is that everything that is great and precious, valuable and very beneficial, the path to obtain that is very long. It's very long. So, and he says, وَيَكْثُرُ التَّعَبُ فِي تَحْصِيلِهِ. And much hardship and difficulty will occur in striving to obtain that thing. And anything that's precious and anything that's valuable and great and of high quality and benefit, many times in order to obtain that, it will be a long path and not a short path. And one, he will have to make much effort, and there will be difficulties that he will face before he can obtain that. As we have seen in previous classes, the poet, he says, لَوْلَا الْمَشَقَّةُ لَسَادَ النَّاسُ كُلُّهُم. If it had not been for hardship and difficulty, all of the people, they would have been leaders and in the forefront. So Ibn al-Jawzi, he says, rahimahullah, فَإِنَّ الْعِلْمَ لَمَّا كَانَ أَشْرَفَ الْأَشْيَاءِ لم يحصل إلا بالتعب والسهر والتكرار وهجر اللذات والراحة. He said, and so therefore, since knowledge is the most noble of all things, one will not be able to obtain it except with great hardship and staying up late at night and with great repetition and going over the issues constantly, and by boycotting and turning away from the delights and the pleasures of this life and relaxation. حتى قال بعض الفقهاء, until the extent that some of the scholars of fiqh, they have said بقيت سنين أشتهي الحريسة بقيت سنين أشتهي الحريسة لا أقدر لأن وقت بيعها وقت سماع الدرس. He said, until the extent that one of the fuqaha and the great scholars of fiqh, he mentioned that I remained for years craving to have harisa. Harisa is a type of food. He said, I remained for many years craving this particular type of food called harisa. And I was never able to get it because the time that it was sold was the exact same time of the lesson. And his craving, his desire is for this particular food, but he can't get his hands on it because the only way to get it is to show preference to that over the lesson. And that won't happen. So he never had that particular delight. So this is the point, that in order to obtain a great portion of knowledge and to have a strong foundation and to be an imam in that issue like those who have preceded, then it requires great diligence and showing preference to knowledge and to the gatherings of knowledge. And this will require a person to leave off much of the delights of this life that are permissible. No doubt he will leave off those impermissible delights without question. The issue now is leaving off the permissible delights. Some of them or many of them he will turn away from that. And again, al-jaza'u min jins al-amal, and he will have in return a greater delight than this worldly life. And even to the extent that some of the people of knowledge, they said, "Lo عالم الملوك وأبناء دنيا ما في قلوبنا من اللذة والراحة والسعادة لجالدونا عليها بالسيوف." That one of them would say that if the kings and the people of this worldly life, they knew the delight and the joy and the happiness that we have in our hearts, they would try to take it from us with swords. They'll try to take it from us with swords. But this is something you cannot buy. And this is something that you cannot take from somebody. كنز لا تخاف عليه لصة خفيف الحمل يوجد حيث كنت يزيد بكثرة الإنفاق منه وينقص به كيف شددت. So it's a treasure no one can steal from you. This knowledge and the delight that comes with knowledge and the joy that comes with knowledge and the happiness that comes from the gatherings of knowledge and the life that one will find in his heart and in his soul, it cannot be stolen and it cannot be taken from the thieves and the likes like this. So this is something that a believer, he must realize and keep in mind the virtue of knowledge and the people of knowledge, and strive to have a portion of that. Maybe not everyone can reach the status of a great imam or a great scholar, but at least he can have a portion of that. Whatever he can get his hands on, he will not belittle that or consider it insignificant. Rather, he will strive to benefit as much as he can. And likewise, he will hope that for his family and for his brothers. This evening, we kind of moved to a different topic. And there was something that the author, he mentioned in the previous work that had reminded me of a benefit of one of the people of knowledge. And it was in the statement of the author on page 36 about the advice of the teacher. From the manners of the teacher, he said, وَيُذَكِّرُهُمْ أَنَّ اجْتِمَاعَنَا يَنْبَغِي أَنْ يَكُونَ لِلَّهِ تَعَالَى فلا يليق بنا المنافسة والمشاحنة بل سبيلنا الرفق والحياء واستفادة بعضنا من بعض واجتماع قلوبنا على ظهور الحق وحصول الفائدة. So this portion that was mentioned in the book آداب الدارس والمدرس, in reality is something to reflect upon and to ponder over. And this is, as he's mentioning, the manners of the teacher and how he should direct his students. And he says that he should remind them that our gathering is incumbent for it to be for the sake of Allah. That our gatherings, whenever we get together, whenever we gather to seek knowledge and to learn together, it's incumbent for it to be for the sake of Allah. So therefore, it's not benefiting for us to be competing with each other, trying to be better or higher or to have position one over the other. Rather, our methodology and the way that we should follow is the way of gentleness and the way of shyness, and that we should benefit one from the other. And that our hearts should be united upon the fact that the truth is apparent, that the truth is made apparent and clarified. And this is what he will seek for. And we have seen this a number of times. And from that, the statement of Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah, whenever he mentioned, I wish that the people would take the knowledge in these books and not one letter would be ascribed to me. And meaning that his whole effort and aim is for the sunnah to be applied, for the religion to be established. لِكَلِمَةِ اللَّهِ هِيَ تَكُونُ الْعُلِيَةِ. Not the person himself. Not the person himself. Rather, the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal to be raised, and the tawheed to be established, and the sunnah to be raised and to be applied. This is the goal. And this is what one will aim for. And this is what he's saying, that the teacher, he must advise his students with in order to obtain the benefit. So in reading this, I was reminded of a particular benefit that came in this work here called Durar As-Saniyah fi al-Ajwiba al-Najdiyah. And it's kind of not too long of a benefit, but it was not suitable in those classes. But I did not want to leave it. So this particular work here is called Durar As-Saniyah. And the lofty gems or pearls from Al-Ajwiba al-Najdiyah, from the responses of the scholars of Al-Najd. And this is written by Abdurrahman ibn Qasim, rahimahullah ta'ala. He died in the year 1392. He has many works. From the most famous of his work is Majmu' al-Fatawa, Ibn Taymiyyah. Majmu' al-Fatawa, Ibn Taymiyyah. Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah, he does not have a book called Majmu' al-Fatawa. Rather, this was the effort of Abdurrahman ibn Qasim, rahimahullah ta'ala, gathered all these different manuscripts and had collected them and checked them and verified them and then arranged them in order of the chapters of fiqh and made that book there, Majmu' al-Fatawa. So he's the author of that, rahimahullah ta'ala, and the work is the works of Shaykh al-Islam, but he is the one who collected them and gathered them. And he traveled all over the world, even to the lands of disbelievers, to gather the manuscripts from the different libraries in Dimashq and in Paris and in other lands, gathering and in Egypt, all over the place, until he collected all these different manuscripts from the works of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, and then he verified them and arranged them and put them in this order of that book. So he's likewise the author of this book. And this book here is about 16 volumes, and it has a number of treatises and letters and the likes that the scholars of Al-Najd had written from the time of Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab until his time. So there are letters Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab has written to the different people in the different regions, and likewise his grandsons and his family after them, and then the scholars of Ad-Dawah As-Salafy on their way until the time of Shaykh Abdurrahman ibn Qasim, rahimahullah ta'ala. So what we read now here is in volume number 4, and it's on page 348. And he says, وَقَالَ الشَّيْخ Abdurrahman ibn Hassan. Abdurrahman ibn Hassan, this is Abdurrahman ibn Hassan ibn Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, rahimahullah. So he's the grandson of Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, and he's the author of Fath al-Majid, one of the greatest explanations of Kitab al-Tawheed, and the work of his grandfather, rahimahumullah ta'ala. So Abdurrahman ibn Hassan, rahimahullah, he died in the year 1285. And this is what he mentioned, لِبَعْضِ إِخْوَانِهِ مِنْ طَلَبَةِ الْعِلْمِ. So this is some advice that Abdurrahman ibn Hassan, rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentioned to some of his brothers from the students of knowledge. And this is very suitable and similar to what he's mentioning here. An example of the application of that. An example of the application of that, he says, وَالَّذِي أُوصِيكُمْ بِهِ جَمِيعًا وَنَفْسِي تَقْوَى اللَّهِ تَعَالَى وَالْإِخْلَاصَ لِوَجْهِ الْكَرِيمِ فِي طَالِبِ الْعِلْمِ وَغَيْرِهِ لِتَفُوزُوا بِالْأَجْرِ الْعَظِيمِ. He says, so therefore that which I order you with and advise all of you with, and my own self likewise, is the taqwa of Allah, is to fear Allah, and to fear Him by fulfilling the obligations and avoiding the prohibitions in public and in private upon sincere faith. He said, this is what I advise you with, and likewise that you be sincere in seeking the noble face of Allah and seeking knowledge, and other than that. And so first he's advising them with taqwa, and then with ikhlas. Bil-ikhlasi fi talib al-ilm. Ikhlas liwajhi Allahi al-kareem fi talib al-ilm. And this is of the utmost importance. In the majority of the time, whenever we find calamities and trials occurring between the scholars and the students of knowledge and the likes like this, the problem lies in this first point right here. Sincerity. Al-ikhlas. Whenever there's problems occurring, especially in the ranks of Ahl Sunnah, the people who have the same creed and they have the same methodology and they have the same teachers and the likes like this, the majority of the time, the reasons why these fitan occur is because of this issue right here. Whenever the ikhlas goes away, this is whenever all calamities become, specifically in seeking knowledge. Specifically in seeking knowledge. So he's advising them with this. He says in order to obtain the great reward, any the great reward of seeking knowledge, and likewise of spreading knowledge and teaching knowledge. There's a great reward for that, for the one who himself he seeks it. For the one who himself he seeks it. The one he's seeking knowledge truthfully and sincerely, he's on the path to paradise. And Allah will facilitate a way for him to enter paradise. من سلك طريقا يلتمس فيه علما سهل الله له به طريقا إلى الجنة. But this is for the one who's sincere. And then likewise, من سن في الإسلام سنة حسنة كان له أجرها وأجر من عمل بها من بعده من غير أن ينقص من أجورهم شيئا. And whoever leads somebody to a good sunnah and to a good way, he will have the reward of that without decreasing their reward whatsoever. And من دل على الهدى, the same meaning is like this. The person who is a means to guide somebody, he will have the reward of that. He will have the reward of that, and likewise the reward of what they perform from good deeds upon guidance as well. So there's a great reward with regards to seeking knowledge and teaching knowledge and spreading knowledge. That reward requires for the person to be sincere. As for the one who is not sincere, then that's not the case for him, and he will not have that reward. And the people of knowledge, they mention هو كالسراج يضيء للناس ويحرق نفسه. He's like a lantern or a torch, and he lights the way for others, but he burns his own self. The one who's carrying knowledge, but he's not sincere, or is spreading knowledge, but he's not sincere. He's a light for others, but at the same time he's burning his own self up. And the candle, if it's left, if no one puts it out, he will burn itself until it does not exist anymore. And he will put himself out. So those people who are not sincere, if they're not guided back to the truth and they continue upon their way, eventually their light will be put out. So this is something to take heed from. وَلِيَذُ بِاللَّهِ. And this is the advice here. He says, وَلِيَحْذَرْ كُلُّ عَاقِلٍ أَنْ يَطْلُبَ الْعِلْمَ لِلْمُمَارَاتِ وَالْمُبَاهَاتِ. And every intelligent person, he must be very cautious from seeking knowledge for the sake of arguing and bragging. For the sake of arguing, quarreling, and bragging. فَإِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ خَطَرًا عَظِيمًا. Because with regards to this, there's great danger. There's great danger for the one who seeks knowledge, and by that he intends to brag. Or to have leadership, or he intends to boast, or to be better than the others, or to have status or rank, or in order to argue with the people and the likes like this, and to overcome them and debate, so on and so forth. You need to be the leader. In this manner, he says, فَإِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ خَطَرًا عَظِيمًا. Because indeed there is great danger with regards to this. وَمِثْلُ ذَلِكَ طَالَبُ الْعِلْمِ لِعَرَضِ الدُّنْيَا وَالْجَاهِ وَالتَّرَأُسِ بَيْنَ أَهْلِهَا وَطَالَبِ الْمَحْمَدَةِ وَذَلِكَ هُوَ الْخُسْرَانُ الْمُبِينُ. And the likes of this as well, or that which is similar to this, is to seek knowledge for a worldly reason. To seek knowledge for a worldly reason, or to seek knowledge for the sake of having status and rank, or to obtain leadership. So all of this is from that. There's a great warning with regards to this. Seeking knowledge to obtain a worldly gain, whatever it may be, any worldly gain. His intention by way of learning is to obtain a worldly gain. Whatever that may be, that's very general. And all of this is very dangerous. Or to obtain even more specific from the worldly gain, status and position in the hearts of the people, or to be a leader and to be considered in the forefront, and for the people to take a person as a leader between the people, or to seek the praises of the people. He says, وَذَلِكَ هُوَ الْخُسْرَانُ الْمُبِينُ. And this is clear loss and failure. And if the people of knowledge and the hereafter, they will have high ranks, and they will have high status, and they will be praiseworthy, and they'll be resurrected with the Imam of mankind, which is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But mu'ajilu umuri qabla awanihi qad ba'a bil khusrani wa hirmanihi. But the one who tries to hasten things before their proper time, then he will only obtain nothing but failure and loss. So the one who is trying to get status and rank with the knowledge in this life, then in the hereafter he will have no status and rank. يُعَامَلُ بِنَقِيضِ قَصْدِهِ. And then many times, even in this life, maybe he will reach some type of status and rank, but that which goes up, it comes down. And sometimes things that go up and they stay up for some time, they come down hard. They come down hard. And it's not nice. And it's not nice, and this is the case. And nobody should be safe from the plot of Allah Azza wa Jal. And from the plot of Allah Azza wa Jal. That a person would be left to himself. In this manner, and the likes like this, with claims to knowledge, and using that as a stepping stone to control the people and to have position and to have rank and to have authority and to have leadership. So this is, as he mentioned, clear loss. This is clear loss. وَلَوْ لَمْ يَكُنْ فِي الزَّجْرِ عَنْ ذَلِكَ إِلَّا قَوْلُ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى مَنْ كَانَ يُرِيدُ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا وَزِينَتَهَا نُوَفِّي إِلَيْهِمْ أَعْمَالَهُمْ فِيهَا وَهُمْ فِيهَا لَا يُبْخَسُونَ أولئك الذين ليس لهم في الآخرة إلا النار وحبط ما صنعوا فيها وباطل ما كانوا يعملون. He said, rahimahullah ta'ala, and there's no evidences whatsoever except this one verse. It will be sufficient. It would be sufficient. If there's nothing to warn from this and to clarify the dangers of this except for this one verse, it would be sufficient to reprimand the people from turning away from that. The statement of Allah Azza wa Jal, and whoever wants the worldly life. مَنْ كَانَ يُرِيدُ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا. The person who intends the worldly life. This is what he's looking for. This is what he's hoping for. This is what he wants with his deeds, with his actions. He wants to have a status in this life. He wants to have health in this life. He wants to have wealth in this life. He wants to have money in this life. He wants to have position in this life. And he's doing his deeds and he's looking for something in this life. He's turned away from hoping for the hereafter. He's turned away from hoping for the hereafter. What he wants from his actions is a hastened reward now. So Allah, He says, whoever intends and he wants this worldly life and the delight of that, then we will recompense him his deed in full, and he will not be shortened whatsoever. And he will not be shortened whatsoever. And they are those who in the hereafter they have nothing but the hellfire. They will have nothing but the hellfire. And that which they have done in this life will be invalidated, and it will have no value whatsoever, that which they used to do. It will be invalidated, and it will be void, everything that they used to do. So this is the case with the deeds in general. And from the best of deeds, as we have seen, is seeking knowledge. So the one who seeks knowledge for these reasons, he's included in here, in this verse, that he will have nothing, that he's seeking this thing in this life, with this knowledge, and in the hereafter he will have nothing. And he's saying that this is sufficient here, but in reality there are many verses and there are many hadith. He'll mention one of them, but also from them is the hadith that's well known about those first three individuals who will be the first to enter the hellfire, which is in Sahih Muslim from the hadith of Abi Hurairah radiyallahu anhu. And from them is the one who learned and he taught knowledge. And then it will be said to him, why did you do that? He said, I learned and taught knowledge and read the Quran for your sake. And it will be said to him, kadhabta, you lied. And then after that, it will be said to him, but you learned and you recited in order to be called alim or qari, faqad qil, meaning you got what you wanted. You learned and you taught in order to be considered a sheikh, and they called you sheikh, they called you alim. So that's what you're looking for, and you got what you wanted. And then he'll umira bihi فَيُسْحَبُ عَلَى وَجْهِهِ فَيُلْقَى فِي النَّارِ. And then he will be ordered and he will be dragged on his face and cast in the hellfire. All of this, he will have nothing in the hereafter except for the hellfire because of this foul intention. Because of this foul intention. The most noble thing that a person could seek after in this life is this knowledge here in order to apply it. And to seek the face of Allah and the pleasure of Allah. And to learn this knowledge, the knowledge of the legislation, the knowledge of the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the knowledge of the way of the Sahaba and the Tabi'een and the likes. Like this is the most lofty thing a person could seek after in this life. So for a person to take that and put it under his feet, to try to stand and obtain this lowly life, that does not even last. That the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned that if this life had weighed even the wing of a mosquito with Allah Azza wa Jal, he would not give a disbeliever a drink of water. But the disbelievers, they have much of this life. And so this life is nothing. So to use this virtuous knowledge that is great and high and lofty and beloved to Allah, to obtain this lowly worldly life that is lowly and detestable to Allah Azza wa Jal, this is no doubt failure. So he says, وَفِي حَدِيثِ أَنَسٍ مَرْفُوعًا. And also in the hadith of Anas marfu', he says, مَنْ تَعَلَّمَ الْعِلْمَ لِيُبَاهِيَ بِهِ الْعُلَمَاء أو ليجاري به السفهاء أو ليصرف به وجوه الناس إليه فهو في النار. And the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned in this narration that whoever learns knowledge in order to boast along with the scholars, or to argue and quarrel with the sufaha, with the fools, or to turn the people's faces to him, yani to have attention and to have status and rank, فَهُوَ فِي النَّارِ فَهُوَ فِي النَّارِ Then he will be in the hellfire. Then he will be in the hellfire. This narration has been narrated by Anas and collected by Al-Bazar. But likewise, it has been collected by Ibn Majah, rahimahullah, from the hadith of Abi Hurayrah radiyallahu anhu. And it's very similar, very similar wording. The one who seeks knowledge and he learns in order to go along with the scholars. لِيُجَارِيَ بِهِ الْعُلَمَاء لِيُجَارِيَ بِهِ الْعُلَمَاء. And he's learning the knowledge in order to be in the ranks of the scholars, and to go along with the scholars, and to speak along with the scholars, and to be considered from the scholars, or to be considered a student of knowledge, and the likes like this, then this is his outcome. فَهُوَ فِي النَّارِ. And the other wording, فَأَدْخَلَهُ اللَّهُ جَهَنَّمْ, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will enter him into the hellfire. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned in this wording, لَا تَعَلَّمُ الْعِلْمَ لِتُبَاهُ بِهِ الْعُلَمَاء وَلَا تُمَارُ بِهِ السُّفَهَاء. يعني فإن فعل ذلك فالنار النار. Do not learn knowledge in order to boast and brag with the scholars. You need to go along with them and to argue and to quarrel with the fools. And because it's the fools, they're the ones who argue and quarrel in the religion. It's the fools, they're the ones who argue and quarrel and the religion and debating and the likes like this. So do not learn knowledge for this reason, or in order to have to be the leader in the gatherings and for the people to look towards you and the likes like this. Any meaning to have status. So this here is from the greatest reasons why separation and dissension falls in the ranks of the people of the Sunnah, because of having a foul intention, and because of using the knowledge for personal gain and preference, and because of not knowing one's own level and one's rank. This reason here causes much division and much separation and much problems and the likes like this. And this is something that we have seen for some time. And these people, they have been known, and their traits have been exposed time after time. And whenever that occurs, a person, he should not be deceived. The people of fitna, whenever they're known that they are from the people of fitna, and they have signs from their actions and their manners that they have the likes of these affairs, intentions inside the heart of a person. But there are things people do that clarify that the intention is corrupt and that they're following desires. Imam Al-Ajuri rahimahullah, he mentioned a number of them in the end of his book, Akhlaq al-Ulama. Whenever he mentioned Akhlaq al-Alim al-Jahil al-Muftatan bi-ilmihi, the manners of the ignorant scholar who's tried by his knowledge. He mentioned a whole chapter of manners, one after the other, that are signs indicating that person, although he has knowledge, he's ignorant because he uses his knowledge to obtain the worldly life. And these are his traits. So those people whose traits have been apparent from them, then they should be avoided and they should be left. And they should be known. These are people of fitna. These are people who are trials. It's been narrated from Sufyan al-Thawri, rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, كان يقال تعوذوا بالله من فتنة العابد الجاهل ومن فتنة العالم الفاجر ومن فتنة العالم الفاجر. It used to be said, seek refuge with Allah from the trials of al-abid al-jahil, from the ignorant worshipper. Seek refuge with Allah from the trials of the ignorant worshipper. ومن فتنة العالم الفاجر. And seek refuge with Allah from the trials of the corrupt and evil scholar. He's fajr, he's fasik. And he has these traits. He's using his knowledge to manipulate the people and to use them. He's using his position with the scholars to manipulate the people and to use them, to scare them, to do what he wants. For example, they'll say one of them is known that he has a piece of paper and he has a list, and he'll put your name on there, and he'll threaten individuals to take that list to this scholar or that scholar and mention his name to them and the likes like this. Or they'll say, if you don't do this or if you don't do that, then I'll tell this scholar this and that about you, and to manipulate them and to use them. So this is a clear sign. So the scholars of the previous generations, they're aware of this. This is nothing new. He died in 161. In 161, they used to say, "Ta'awwudhu billahi min al-alim al-fajir." Seek refuge with Allah from the corrupt and evil scholar, any person of knowledge. فَإِنَّ فِتْنَتَهُمَا فِتْنَةٌ لِكُلِّ مَفْتُونٍ. Because their trials are trials for everyone who's tried. And if the person who's not aware, he doesn't have knowledge himself, he may see a person who appears to be a devout worshipper, but he's upon ignorance. And he worships Allah upon innovation. And if he doesn't have knowledge and insight, he'll be tried by him. And he'll follow him and he'll imitate him, and believing that he is, mashallah, a devout worshiper, somebody who's always in the masjid, for example. But his worship is upon innovation, and his worship is upon whims and desires, or upon cultures and the likes like this. And then he believes that he's upright, or he follows him in that, and the likes like this. So this is a great fitna for those people. And likewise, the one who is a scholar, but he's corrupt, and he's evil, and he's manipulative, and he has a way with words, and he uses the people, and the likes like this, then this one likewise is a great trial for the people who do not know, for the people who do not know. So this is something that they used to watch out for. It has been narrated likewise from Al-Fudayl ibn Iyad. He died in the year 187. He said, "Inna Allah azza wa jal yuhibbu al-alim al-mutawadi' wa yubghidu al-alim al-jabbar." He said, indeed, Allah azza wa jal, He loves the scholar who is humble, and He hates the scholar who is jabbar. Jabbar, yani like a tyrant. Mutakabbir, he's a tyrant. And a scholar, he's calling him a scholar. He's a scholar, meaning he has knowledge. But what does he do with his knowledge? He's jabbar, he's a tyrant, manipulating and using the people, overpowering the people and belittling the people and stomping on the people and the likes like this in order to get his way, in order to have his position, in order to have his status, in order to have his rank. And the likes like this. This is an amazing affair. He died in 187. So they're aware of the likes of these individuals. Alimun, jabbar. Can you imagine that? A'udhu billah, a scholar, a person of knowledge, but he's jabbar. Jabbar. Yani, for example, somebody who ascribes to knowledge, but he has individuals that if you don't do what he likes, they'll beat you up, or they'll threaten you, or they'll harm you, or the likes like this. This is a great example of that. This is a great example of that. These things happen. These things are apparent today. We know individuals by their names. They do this. They do this. They have individuals like this. They call them goons. And they're very well known. Even people that know them. They know who they are and the likes like this. Yani that's alimun jabbar. Ta'awadhu min al-alim al-fajir. So yani this is a great sign. If your sheikh has goons, leave him and find a new sheikh. Leave him and find a new sheikh. That's the case. If people are getting beat up in your masjid because of something that happened and somebody didn't agree with your sheikh, so next thing you know he got beat up. Yani subhanAllah, what kind of stuff is this? What kind of deen is this? And then they're gonna say, oh well, he has a praise from Sheikh so and so. Khalas, you didn't tell Sheikh so and so about that, did you? Did you? Would that benefit the praise of Sheikh so and so if somebody has the likes of this? Would it benefit with Allah Azza wa Jal? It shouldn't even benefit with the people. The praises of the people will not benefit if the actions are not in accordance. So this is something that we should be aware of. That these people like this, they're causing much trouble in our ranks. So therefore, know them and leave them and turn away from them and don't be tried by them. Alhamdulillah. So now he mentions here, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, وَهَذَا قَدْرٌ كَافٍ فِي النَّصِيحَةِ. He said, so this amount here, yani with regards to what is mentioned in these texts, this is sufficient in advice. وَفَقَنَا اللَّهُ وَإِيَّاكُمْ لِحُسْنِ الْقَبُولِ. May Allah grant us success. May Allah grant us success to be able to accept the advice. He says, وَقَدْ بَلَغَنِي أَنَّكُمْ اخْتَلَفْتُمْ فِي الْمَسَائِلِ. He said, indeed it has reached me that you have differed in some issues, meaning issues in the religion. He said, أَدَّى إِلَى النِّزَاعِ وَالْجِدَالِ. He said, this has led to quarreling and to arguing and to differing. Any of these differences that you have in these issues has led to quarreling and arguing and dissension. He says, وَلَيْسَ هَذَا شَأْنُ طُلَّابِ الْآخِرَةِ. This is not the manners, this is not the affair of the students of the hereafter. The students of the hereafter, this is not their affair. Any of the issues in their religion will not cause them to separate and to quarrel and to have dissension. We understand that? What will cause listen to the statement. بَلَغَنِي أَنَّكُمْ اخْتَلَفْتُمْ فِي مَسَائِلِ. It has reached me that you all have differed in issues. أَدَّى إِلَى النِّزَاعِ وَالْجِدَالِ. It has led to quarreling and arguing, yani meaning and turning away from each other, dissension. He said, لَيْسَ هَذَا شَأْنَ طُلَابِ الْآخِرَةِ. This is not the way of the students of the hereafter. So therefore, why did that happen? Why did the differing in these issues happen here? Somebody is not a student of the hereafter. Somebody is not a student of the hereafter. So if these affairs occur and this is something that has been occurring and been known, then it's clear that he's not seeking the hereafter. So that's why these problems keep popping up, time after time after time, problem after problem after problem with the same people. With the same people. It's just it's a different story, but it's the same issue and the same thing. So this is because why? Because obviously somebody's not seeking the hereafter. Because had you sought the hereafter, then people will move differently. Because the one who's seeking the hereafter, he will look to that which is best. And even though maybe there's something bad that had occurred, possibly, maybe somebody made a mistake. But if it's not handled properly, it will cause much problems. It will cause much problems. So the one who's seeking the hereafter, he's looking to minimize the problems, not to spread them and to expose them. He's seeking to minimize the problems, and even that will require him to back down from some things and to think before he acts. But as for the one who's looking for something in the worldly life, he's quick to expose, and he's quick to refute, and he's quick to let the people know in order to have his position, in order to have his status. He's bucking his heads quick in order to keep that leadership. As for the one who's seeking the hereafter, he's going to move differently. He's going to move with hilm, like we've seen before. He's going to reflect. Is it proper for me to spread this? Is it proper? Should I advise him in public on Twitter and Facebook, or should I pull him by the hand or call him on the phone and advise him personally? And which one is really advice in the first place? Because there's a difference between nasiha and fadiha. One thing is called nasiha, that's giving sincere advice. The other one is called fadiha, and this is whenever a person, he will intend to expose the people. He'll pretend to give advice, but in reality he's trying to expose somebody. So all of this is the affair of what? Of the people who are students of the dunya and not the hereafter. As for the ones who seek in the hereafter, then they'll turn away from that. And this is what the people of knowledge have advised us with. That those people who are known to call to fitan and to trials and the likes like this, to leave them alone. To leave them alone and to turn away from them and busy yourself with knowledge. This is what we have been advised by a number of our mashaykh personally and also in general. That the people who are known for trials and fitna and the people who are involved in these affairs, you turn away from them. And you busy yourself with knowledge, and you busy your people with knowledge, and you try to cultivate the people upon their religion and cultivate that which is good and busy them with that. And inshallah, those people of fitna, they'll go away. They'll go away, or they'll be involved in another fitna. We'll come later on and they'll get involved in that. And if we look back, all these times, these different fitna that have occurred, and those people who are involved in them, and that's all they do. What do you say about this one? What do you say about that one? And so on and so forth. Being involved in all of these fitna. Many of them, if we look back 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and today, in their religion, they're in the same place. In their religion, they're in the same place. They haven't memorized Juz' Amma. They haven't learned the Arabic language. They can't recite Qul Huwallahu Ahad properly, clearly. They have problems with makharij. And after 20 years, after 15 years, 20 years, 15 years, 10 years, but if you tell, what do you say about this one? What do you say about that? Like, this is what they know. Maybe he doesn't even know shurut al-salat. Maybe he doesn't even know wudu. Wallahi, no doubt. Knowing about fitna and knowing about the people of fitna is from deen. But it's not the whole deen. Whether you learn about that in order to stay away from it and to avoid it. We don't make it your deen in your life and then get everybody involved in it. No, you keep the people away from it. And those who get close to it, you warn them and get them away from it. But as for the rest of the people, you don't even mention it to them because they're not even near it. So you don't, this is, may Allah open our hearts so we can see the truth. So these type of people, you leave them. This is what the scholar, you leave them, alhamdulillah, khalas. And you busy yourself with knowledge. You busy yourself with knowledge. You busy yourself with knowledge. So this is the case. ليس هذا شأن طلاب الآخرة. This is not the affair of the students of the hereafter. He said, فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهُ وَتَأَدَّبُوا بِأَدَابِ الْعِلْمِ. So therefore you should fear Allah. You should fear Allah and discipline yourselves with the discipline of knowledge. وَاطْلُبُوا ثَوَابَ اللَّهِ فِي تَعَلُّمِهِ وَتَعْلِيمِهِ. And seek the reward of Allah in learning and teaching. وَأَتْبِعُوا الْعِلْمَ بِالْعَمَلِ فَإِنَّهُ ثَمَرَاتُهُ. And follow up the knowledge with application because that's the fruit of knowledge. That's the fruit of, wallahi, this is wonderful advice. This is wonderful advice. And to fall into this differing and the likes like this, and these affairs, is not from the issue of the students of the hereafter, especially in the affairs of fiqhiyya and the likes like this, or even in the affairs that are major that don't concern us, between great scholars, that don't concern us, that don't concern the layman, or the students of knowledge. Is something major for the scholars to handle. To get everybody involved in that, this is not from the way of the students of the hereafter. This is away from the students of the dunya. They're the ones who benefit from that and we're the ones who lose. They're the ones who benefit from that and we're the ones who lose. So therefore be aware of that and know about that and don't be harmed by that and turn away from that and benefit yourself with that which will benefit you. And that is to draw near to Allah by learning. But to draw near to Allah by learning and seeking knowledge. And busy yourself with that. And inshallah the fitna will blow over, and when it's all done and they're still and where they're at in their religion, you'll be past them. You'll be past them. You'll be having high ranks in knowledge and in worship. You'll be standing in the night prayer. You'll be praying duha. You'll be helping somebody else learn the Fatiha. You'll be teaching somebody the tajweed rules and the likes like this. You'll be beneficial. Whenever the fitna blows over, you'll be beneficial if you know about it and avoid it. If you know about it and avoid it, because the fitna, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, that if you check it out, it'll wipe you out. If you check out the fitna, it'll wipe you out. So if you get involved in that, it'll take you away. You'll be wiped out and you'll be engulfed in that. And if you see the people who are involved in that, that's all they do. That's all they do. Fitna. Trials. He's this and he's that. And in the end, he still doesn't even really know his religion. Even the wudu, maybe not even shurut the wudu. The very first thing you're supposed to learn in the likes like this from the actions is how to make wudu. And if you ask him about the shurut of wudu, he doesn't know that. He doesn't know that. What happened here? The intention is corrupt. And many times it's not his fault. It's because of these so-called elders who raised them upon that. Tarbiyah sayyah. And that's the outcome of having a bad intention, that it raises people upon any desires and whims. So it's very important to know about these affairs and to stop putting a blind eye to that and acting like it never happened or never occurred. We should know about that. People who warn from the major scholars, people who warn from Sheikh Abdul Razak, people who warn from Sheikh Sulaiman al-Ruhaili, people who warn from Sheikh Abdul Muhsin, people who pretend to like Sheikh Abdul Muhsin and warn from him behind his back, people who pretend to like Sheikh Abdul Razak and then warn from him behind his back and the likes. These things, we know about these affairs. We will never be united with somebody who warns from our scholars. Wallahi, inshallah, we'll never unite with somebody who warns from the people of knowledge. That's the way of the people of Hawa. Call yourself whatever you want. That's the way of the people of Hawa. For example, Sheikh Sulaiman al-Ruhaili just recently he came to Britain. We all know that. What happened? Some good brothers, and like they say, warning from him and turning the people away from the great scholar who comes to the land of disbelief to teach them Tawheed. And then, what is this? That's the way of the people of Ahwa. They're the ones who warn from the scholars. Is this apparent? Is this clear? So we will never unite with somebody who warns from the scholars until they repent. And if they don't repent, then we hate them for the sake of Allah. The hate that is moderate. And we don't declare them disbelievers and the likes like this, but this is something that is detestable. And if you love somebody for the sake of Allah and then he does something wrong like this, like warning from the people of knowledge, then you don't dislike him for the sake of Allah. You never loved him for the sake of Allah. It's deen. We take this as deen. We follow the path of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The first deviation, how did it occur? Because the Khawarij started talking bad about the people of knowledge. Who are they? The Sahaba. Until this day, the people of Ahwa, what do they do? To deter the Ummah and to mislead the people, they talk bad about the people of knowledge. This is something major. So those who do that, we will never unite with them. Inshallah. Alhamdulillah. It's not strange how we see that. It's very clear. We know. I know for a fact, I heard it. I've even been warned by people have warned me before from Sheikh Abdul Razak. And they ascribed that falsely to Sheikh Ubaid. And after that, I heard it from Sheikh Ubaid with my own ears that it was a lie, and he never warned from him. And likewise, they warned from Sheikh Abdul Razak, and they ascribed it to Sheikh Muhammad. And we were all affected by that. And then later on, we heard it with our own ears that he denied that himself. Sheikh Muhammad said, I never warned from him. People that lie. People that lie about these affairs. Isn't that strange now that we see just recently people are warning from Sheikh Sulaiman's gathering, and he's not a sheikh no more. They called him, the best they do for him, they call him Dr. Al-Ruhaili. But on the other hand, these other individuals now, they're called sheikh at the same time. Is that not strange for you? Or even now they're translating for people we never heard of before. We've been seeking knowledge for many years, but all of a sudden there's new people that we're supposed to. And is it not strange for you? Don't just submit yourself and just surrender and just go with the flow. Stand up for your religion and be strong. Have courage. Follow the deen of Allah for the sake of Allah. Do not put your hands on the people who did not show honor and respect for this religion and who manipulate and use the people. Don't do that. Don't do that. Stand up for your religion. No one can make you a Salafi except for you, by the permission of Allah. Don't be afraid. That's what many times people are afraid. If I do this, if I pray in this masjid, if they see me in this masjid, they're gonna not call me Salafi no more. Like that. And then if they don't call me Salafi, then I'm not Salafi. Some people, they believe that Salafi is a deen. It's the way of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you believe like he believed and you follow what he was upon his companions, then you're Salafi. Nobody can take that from you. Nobody can tell you that you're Salafi or not Salafi. No, this is a deen. This is deen. It's in your heart. It's in your manners. It's what you live. It's your life. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. Nobody has that in their hand, can give that to you. can take that from you. That's a gift from Allah Azza wa Jal. Even if all the people called somebody Salafi, and he don't believe it in his heart, or he don't even really know what it is properly, he's not Salafi. That doesn't make him Salafi because the people called him Salafi. Or because we call Salafi, it means that we ascribe to the way of the Salaf, in creed, in belief, in manners, in conduct, in worship, in contracts, and we strive to be upon that way inwardly and outwardly. The one who's sincere like that, then he's a Salafi. It's not something that somebody has in their hands and the likes like this. So don't be afraid. Somebody, he said, I'm not Salafi. He must not know me. Because I know my Lord. I know man Rabbuk, Rabbi Allah. الذي رباني ورب جميع العالمين بنعمه هو معبودي ليس لي معبود سواه. I know my Lord, alhamdulillah. So if you know your Lord, and you know your Prophet, and you know your Prophet, and you know your deen, ديني الإسلام. الإسلام لله بالتوحيد والانقياد له بالطاعة والبراءة من الشرك وأهله. You know Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa Muhammad ibn Abdullah, ibn Abdul Muttalib, al-Qurashi, al-Hashimi, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and this is what makes you Salafi. This is what makes you Salafi. This is what makes you upright. This is what makes you rise. This is what will get you into the Jannah. By having the proper creed and the proper manners and the proper deen and the proper methodology and the proper way. Not what somebody claims or says. So he says, Rahimahullah, فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَتَأَدَّبُوا بِأَدَابِ الْعِلْمِ. So therefore fear Allah and discipline yourself with the discipline of knowledge. وَاطْلُبُوا ثَوَابَ اللَّهِ فِي تَعَلُّمِهِ وَتَعْلِيمِهِ. And seek the reward of Allah in learning and teaching knowledge. وَأَتْبِعُوا الْعِلْمَ بِالْعَمَلِ فَإِنَّهُ ثَمَرَاتُ. And follow up the knowledge with application because it is the fruit of knowledge. وَالسَّبَبُ فِي حُصُولِهِ كَمَا فِي الْأَثَرِ مَنْ عَمِلَ بِمَا عَلِمَ أَوْرَثَهُ اللَّهُ عِلْمَ مَا لَمْ يَعْلَمْ. The action is the fruit of knowledge and it's the reason for obtaining knowledge. Just has come in the narrations, in the athar, that whoever applies the knowledge that he knows, then Allah will bring about for him the knowledge that he did not know. He says, وَكُونُوا مُتَعَاوِنِينَ عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى. And cooperate all of you together upon piety and righteousness. Work together upon that way. Piety and righteousness. So those who want to cooperate upon that way, alhamdulillah, we cooperate with them. But as for those who bash the scholars or blame the scholars or turn the people away from the scholars in the name of Salafi, we will not cooperate with them. Rather, we will turn away from them. And we'll busy ourselves with that which is beneficial. وَكُونُوا مُتَعَاوِنِينَ عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى وَمِنْ عَلَامَاتِ إِخْلَاصِ طَالِبِ الْعِلْمِ أَنْ يَكُونَ صَمُوتًا عَمَّا لَا يَعْنِيهِ. And from the signs of sincerity, the sincerity of the student of knowledge, is that he's silent about that which does not concern him. So these issues that do not concern us, we don't delve into that and get into that. We learn about that and know about that and leave it alone and stay silent and let the people who are qualified deal with that. Deal with that. This is from the, he says, this is from the signs of sincerity. وَمِنْ عَلَامَاتِ إِخْلَاصِ طَالِبِ الْعِلْمِ. From the signs of sincerity and the student of knowledge. Where's the sincerity at? It's in the heart, but it has signs. It has signs from the signs of sincerity of the student of knowledge, and يَكُونَ صَامُوتًا عَمَّا لَا يَعْنِيهِ, that he's quiet about that which doesn't concern him. So the people who are delving into issues that don't concern him, it's a sign that he's not sincere. You understand that? Why would he delve in things that don't concern him? I need to put himself up to be that man like this. And so he doesn't have sincerity. So these are signs. And from the signs of sincerity in the student of knowledge, and أن يكون متذللا لربه متواضعا لعباده. It says لعبادته والله أعلم لعباده. That he's submissive to his Lord and humble to his slaves. متورعا متأدبا. And that he's pious and he fears Allah and he has noble manners. لا يبالي ظهر الحق على لسانه أو على لسان غيره. He doesn't care whether the truth is apparent on his tongue or on the tongue of somebody else. He says لا ينتصر ولا يفخر. He does not try to give victory or aid himself and he defend himself and he's not bragging. And maybe the people, they weren't from you and they talk bad about you. He doesn't defend himself and step up and try to fight for himself. And he just leave them alone. Inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, may Allah guide them. May Allah guide them. And then he busy himself with knowledge. This is exactly what Sheikh Abdul Razak did. This is, and he continued doing it. And now if we look, who is the one who is the most classes and the greatest benefit? Hafidhahullah ta'ala. Allahumma barik alayhi. May Allah give him a long life upon obedience. But this is the case. Many people talk bad about him and warn from him and the likes like this, and he's just quiet. You don't find him refuting them back and going back and forth with them, taking turns and saying this and saying. He just kept teaching until now he has thousands of classes that have been taught. Any books completed, lessons, and hours of benefit that's recorded and continuing to teach and to benefit and to learn. So this is the case likewise. He says, لا يبالي ظهر الحق على لسانه وعلى لسان غيره لا ينتصر ولا يفخر. He doesn't try to aid himself, and nor does he brag and boast. وَلَا يَحْقِدْ وَلَا يَحْسُدْ. And he doesn't have enmity or hatred, and he's not jealous. وَلَا يَمِيرُ بِهِ الْهَوَى. And the desires do not lead him or move him. وَلَا يَرْكَنُ إِلَى زِينَةِ الدُّنْيَا. And he is not inclined to the delights of this worldly life. This is the signs of sincerity in seeking knowledge. So this knowledge here is very important for us to be aware of, so that we can try to have these affairs. Busying ourselves with knowledge like this, we will hope to have this conduct and these manners. And likewise, we'll be aware of them so we can see others. The people who don't have them, or they have traits that are contrary to this, would be aware of them. Because he might be that alim and fajr that we have to seek refuge with Allah from, as is advised by Sufyan al-Thawri rahimahullah ta'ala. So this is something, wallahi, is of utmost importance. And if we ponder over that which we learned from this treatise, we will see much of these affairs becoming clear. Much of these affairs becoming clear, that it's incumbent to have the manners of knowledge, and the manners of the students of knowledge, and in general the manners of a Muslim, and that you love for your brother what you love for yourself, and that you love for your brother what you love for yourself. هذا وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.